Raquel Perez, and I will be doing a review for a video discussion board for an anthropology course 205 at San Diego Mesa College for Dr. Hurst. On the video, India's Missing Girls. I'll be answering a few questions, and here we go. The reason for gender preference in India is that having a girl is seen as a social stigma. The reason for this is that India is a country where marriage dowry is still heavily socially practiced. When a daughter is born in India, she is seen as a monetary burden in which she will be making the family lose money when it comes to her dowry. However, when a son is born, he will run the home and bring money to the home and honor. Now, children that have been abandoned end up at ARTI home if they are lucky. Yet, the ones that are not end up on the streets, sometimes sold off as child brides or slaves. These children face an array of social and psychological issues after abandonment. Yet, places like ARTI home try to provide a safe haven for them to flourish and recover. However, they receive there an education, food, shelter, clothing, and emotional support as long as they decide to stay there. And they do grow up, and some of them stay there, I believe, until they're 18 or even older, and some of them stay until they get married. And ARTI home, Mrs., I believe, Sadhya Palchupli, tries to find them marriages that are not using the marriage dowry system and helps them establish long-lasting relationships as well as brothers and sisters. Now, when families continue to have girls instead of males, it causes a strain on them culturally, because they do not have an heir to pass on the family name, which is a kind of legacy in India, a very highly esteemed legacy. Also puts a great strain on the family's economical situation due to having to give dowries. And then the dowries have to be given, and each one has to be greater than the previous one given to each family. So if one dowry was 20 pieces of gold, this is an example, the next one has to be 40. And if for that daughter they're asking 40, the next one has to be 80. If that one was 80, the next one has to be 160, and so forth. It has to always have to be an incremental amount. And sometimes these families are put into debt and they can't give the dowries. So the stigma behind having a girl or having a baby that is a girl is highly stigmatized in this society because it causes a social burden to have one and then have the marriage dowry implemented in their culture. Now, in having a son, he would run the household after their father's death and carry on the family name. The culture's spiritual expectation that only a son can fulfill is that they would be in charge of, in a sense, it was talked about in the movie when one of the Indian women spoke about her divorce. They would run an empire their forefathers had built on. They would continue and even add on to the grandeur and the legacy that was previously established. And women and girls aren't seen as that in India. Their daughters are seen as leaving the home and losing that money due to the marriage dowry. They're not educated. They're not allowed to sometimes go to school. Sometimes if the families have sons, the daughters are given the back burner. They're set aside. They're not given that opportunity to pursue education. Due to the increased availability of medical technology now influencing and impacting the distribution of male and female babies in a negative way. Once mothers and families know the sex of the baby, they want to terminate the pregnancy, which is illegal in India, which is very sad to me. Now, in 2007, in Odisha, female infanticide was happening in a private ultrasound clinic, where several fetuses and full-term baby girls were found in wells and on the clinic's compound. That's what made national news, which is very sad. Now, there exists a problem with female abortion, and it doesn't matter the social class or the specific economical standing as well. And it all has to do with the dowry system that was previously established. And it's due to the stigmatization of having a baby girl. For the lower class, it has to do more about the cost it's going to have on the family and how the family's patrilineal line will not be continued, while the middle class is more of a social stigma and mentality that they have towards it. Now, the Rika Festival is a celebration of the bond between brothers and sisters. At the Arty home, they celebrated it to remind the boys and girls at the home to protect, respect, and take care of one another. Not just their sisters, but one another. And after the ceremony, or after the celebration, the girls tied threads on their brothers' wrists to remind them of the promise. So even after they left the Arty home, that they would have a reminder to protect and help each other. The parts of India that currently have the greatest disparities in birth between boys and girls is Haran, near the capital of Delhi, where the ratio is 800 girls to 1,000 boys. This impacts the continuing the family's patrilineages in a negative way. Fathers of these families, if the dowry exists, they pay more to get a bride from a remote part of India, while those that don't have the money will likely not have abilities to get married and continue their patrilineal lines and have a bride. Now, Sadia Patul Papeli believes in order to be any solution to India's children's equal chance to live their lives, there needs to be a fundamental change in the attitudes towards marriage, dowries, and the social customs imposed on girls and women in Indian culture. Well, that was my review of the movie India's Missing Girls. Hope you enjoyed it.